By the way, how many boosters are you all up to?
David,
Whoever's talking right now, I don't know what you're doing. Debunk.
You're deflecting away from the point.
Debunk. No,
you're deflecting away from the point. How do you
but
parse?
You're deflecting. You're deflecting. You're deflecting. How many shots have you had, Debunk? Debunk. How many shots?
Viva, do that with. Can you post a meme? How many boosters have you? I prefer it in meme form.
No, but it's funny. I would just prefer an answer. How many have you had the real truther? How many have you had?
I would prefer if you.
Oh, you've had zero.
Your Honor.
You've had zero the real truther.
Your Honor. I would like the defendant to stay on the question, please.
Yeah, you know, but here, dude. I'm not the defendant. I'm not the defendant.
Dr. Malone. So if Dr. Malone can systematically be wrong on several
topics, but you've just baked in. You do know what a straw man is.
How do you actually parse what is wrong?
Okay, Debunk. Thank you for presupposing in your question, loading it with Malone being systematically wrong. We disagree on that. How many shots are you up to? And
okay. Let's go through his specific claims. What specific?
No, Debunk. We're not doing that right now. You can have him on. And you can talk to him about that. How many shots have you had?
Truther, is this a science show or is this a show where people ask?
Is this a science show?
It's a science show. Are you an anti-vaxxer? I want to know how many shots you've had. Why would you answer the question?
We already talked about that. Anti-vaxxer has nothing to do with how many shots you got. It has to do with what information you spread.
Look, you guys are the prime example of insulting and accusing others of doing what you're doing. Dodging questions, gift scalping. Debunk. How many boosters have you had?
Simple question.
How many boosters do you have?
Because I want to know. I want to know if you guys talk a big talk. If it's so safe, I want to know what you're up here.
David, let me answer.
Please, Debunk, go.
If I had $1 for every time an anti-vaxxer asked me how many boosters I had, I would have as much money as you think I have. If I was the shill you think I am.
Because I didn't call you a shill. I didn't call you a shill. I don't give a shit what other people ask you. Debunk, that's not an answer. How many?
Let me finish.
I
don't answer that question because it is useless, and I think it's entertaining when people deflect from the conversation and keep asking me that.
I know, it's an amazing thing when people deflect from the conversation. So I'm going to deflect from the question. All right, Debunk, you're a brave man. You're a brave man. You want to tell people what to do with their bodies.
David.
Debunk.
Did I tell you what to do with their bodies?
Oh,
I'm asking you.
No, he just called me an anti-vaxxer.
Information when multiple people can get things wrong. Public health officials can be wrong. Dr. Malone has been systematically wrong.
All right, Debunk. I think Debunk. We've reached the end. We've reached the end of the incident. You're a very brave man. Thank you for answering.
You don't want to answer.
Oh, people, I'm not gonna say it was my proudest moment of the week, because I did just pull out a kid's tooth with something called a faux bow. It was right up there. These MFers, and by the way, I'm saying MFers to do the more polite acronym for what I really think of them. I'm implying the word Samuel Jackson uses freely, but I'm saying MFers to be polite. Oh, that was one highlight from my Twitter space with scientists and experts. I mean, in as much as I might have, lost my Twitter poll as to whether or not I won that debate, if I didn't expose these people for the demons that they are, they're not, it's amazing. Scientists might know more and more about less and less. Experts, as Mark Twain once said, are people who know more and more about less and less. I like to think they weren't ready for someone who can actually take them down on their own premises. Listen to this one. By the way, taking them down on their own premises. These idiots, by the way, these bona fide, arrogant, pompous demons. You never submitted any links to your studies. No, because you idiots don't understand that what I did was presuppose the statistics of your studies. These experts submitted studies showing that the risk of myocarditis for the age bracket, I think it was 12 to 18 or whatever it was, the young men, was 1 in 10,000. Good. I mean, I disagree with you. I think you are, in fact, bona fide liars, but I will agree with your number. 1 in 10,000. What's an acceptable rate of risk? Simple question.
So far, we actually agree.
Okay.
Fauci lied or got it wrong. The media lied or got it wrong.
They agreed on that. I don't know what he's laughing about.
Between hospitalized with versus hospitalized from COVID. The jab causes myocarditis at extremely high rates among a certain age demographic.
No,
What do we
they're not
disagree on?
extremely high. They're not extremely high rates. Okay, this is what
What would be extremely high for you? What frequency of adverse event would be
What
extremely
would be-
high for you?
Do you understand that? Because there's two claims here. One, there's an objective part of the claim. Don't leave it to scientists to understand language, that it causes something. And then there's the subjective part as to at extremely high rates. And I can agree. They don't want to say it's at extremely high rates. Fine. Let me know when the rates in your professional medical scientific opinion become extremely high. Is 1 in 10,000 not extremely high for this type of situation? Very simple question. What is extremely high in your opinion? I mean, you're telling me 1 in 10,000 like it's a good thing. That's your number. Is that not an unreasonably high rate for adverse events? Just a simple question.
Where's your science that shows it's causing myocarditis at extremely high rates?
Well, you disagreed on the high rate. I'm asking you, what would be a high rate for you?
I mean, I'm not a scientist, but I'm not going to like.
I'm
do
sorry.
you want me to show you the
Oh,
studies?
this guy's not a scientist? I remember one of these people saying to me, he's going to pull the whole I'm not a scientist during this debate. And now the real truther is pulling the I'm not a scientist, and yet I'm hosting spaces telling people what to do with their own bodies when I've had 0 boosters or shots. We're still ambiguous as to what he was talking about.
Is a myocarditis? Are we going to go through every study right now?
Do you not appreciate your inability or unwillingness to answer pretty straightforward questions?
I can tell you with 100% surety that it does not cause myocarditis at high rates. Okay.
You haven't defined what a high rate is yet. That was the question.
Well, you're the one that said it. You made the claim. You have to back it up. You said it causes at high rates.
You're right. I made the statement. You disagreed, and now I'm asking you, what would be a?
I'm asking you to back up your claim. That's what you have to do.
I consider 1 in 5,000 to be exceedingly high.
Okay. I want to wind down me and you because it sounds like we're not getting like to the place.
Simple question.
Wind it down. Don't answer the straightforward question. What is a high rate of adverse events for you?
Okay, can we just...
You can't answer it. You can't answer it.
The vaccine does not cause myocarditis at a high rate.
You can't answer a simple, bloody question, the real truth. How do you dare call yourself the real truth?
I will take the criticism that I need to calm down. I'll take it because if you think it's the first time in my life I've ever heard that, welcome to the channel. Welcome to the party, pals. I can't calm down when I get excited. It's almost a truism. I don't want to calm down when I'm enraged. Enraged in battle. Maybe it would be useful for me to calm down. Maybe if I'm polite and I just say, talk like this and repeat their names over and over again. Maybe I'll get my message across. Horse crap. I'm sorry. I'm excited. I'm angry. And telling me to calm down is just going to make me more excited. And it's not going to work. It's in my DNA for good or for bad. I'm excited. I'm at, I don't know, whatever, the 7th gear all the time. Those people are putting us on. The most insufferable group of people I've ever heard in my life. Go listen to the Twitter space. Yeah, I was excited. Yeah, I was excited because I'm dealing with experts who don't understand English, who refuse to answer questions, who try to force a debate style, a debate strategy that they will necessarily win. Where's your study? Oh, you're going to slap down studies during a discussion when no one's going to possibly read them? Oh, and then you give them a study. Oh, well, this one's crap. Your authorities are crap. So we disregard that and don't answer questions. You know how you beat someone? On their own premises. You defeat them on their own premises. Oh, okay. You say that the risk of myocarditis for a specific age bracket is 1 in 10,000. I'll concede it. I disagree. That's your number. That's as good as it's going to get for you. Is that not exceedingly high? Oh, by the way, to the question as to how many jabs those experts had, the real truther said 0. It was in response to the question, how many shots have you had? He says he's had 2 shots, 0 boosters. That was his explanation the day after. Okay, fine, I'll believe it. He's had 2 shots, 0 boosters. You know how many boosters you're supposed to be up at now if they're so safe and effective, real truther? 8. He's had 2 shots, 0 boosters. Oh, and what was his excuse? He got COVID, a natural booster. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I heard Fauci say that natural infection wasn't any good. That you still had to go get a jab, even after being naturally infected. Oh, I thought I heard someone say that. Anti-vaxxer, real truther. The other dude, forget his name now. What did he say? Oh, I don't answer that question. You're damn right. There's a good reason why you don't answer that question. And I suspect it's because you're a pathological liar. Good for thee, but not for me. And then he comes out the next day on Twitter and says, okay, I'll bite. I've had 4 shots. Good for you. You're a lie. I don't believe you now. It's nice that you had some time to, think about your lie, and you can answer in Twitter via tweet, but you couldn't answer viva voce where I could assess the sincerity of your answer. You've only had 4 shots. Anti-vaxxer. You're supposed to be up to 8. You know what the other amazing thing is? One of the other so-called doctors, so-called experts in that panel replies on Twitter afterwards that he got myocarditis from his first shot and that he went to do a stress test afterwards, after his bout of myocarditis, and he reached 180 beats per minute in his stress test with normal ejection. I forget what the exact term was. You're not supposed to reach 180 beats per minute. That is 100% of your beats per minute capacity at the age of 40, give or take. You take 220 minus your age. That's supposed to be the maximum your heart can reach, not what you're supposed to reach during a stress test. Even if you're 20 doing a stress test, they work your heart from 50 to 85%. If you reach 100% during a stress test, that's not a good thing. So one dude, real truther, anti-vaxxer, has only had 2 shots while he pushes it on everybody else. The other one refused to answer, I can only assume because he's a liar, and the other doctor admits to having gotten myocarditis. Okay, safe and effective. 1 in 10,000 for one specific demographic, for one specific adverse event. Wow. And they think that they won because I got too excited. Kiss my behind, scientists. Speaking of health, by the way, I want to thank the sponsor of the evening. You may have noticed as you came in here, it said, this stream contains a paid promotion, and it does. I like sponsors, and I like my sponsors, all of them. Fieldofgreens.com, people. You want to adopt healthy lifestyle habits? Don't suck back on one of those disgusting chemical-filled, sucralose-filled soft drinks, diet soft drinks, energy drinks. Field of Greens. It's a little known fact, although I think I say it quite frequently on the show, that you're supposed to have 5 to 7 servings of raw fruits and vegetables a day. It's a well-known fact. Most people do not do that. Bad habits, fast food, not processed greens, just processed food and no greens. Field of Greens is desiccated fruits and vegetables, not an extract, not a supplement. It's like pulverized vegetable jerky. In a spoonful, you stick it in a glass, you stir it around, it tastes delicious. 1 spoonful has 1 serving of fruits and vegetables with all of the antioxidant powers. Healthy habit, healthy for you, tastes delicious. It's USDA organic, made in America. The benefits as close as you can get to the raw fruits and vegetables in a drinkable format. You can carry it on with you when you go traveling and you can't find raw fruits and vegetables. One time I went traveling, I ended up like what's his name? Like Dave Chappelle, the drug addict. I was like a Subway. It's like, y'all got any of them raw fruits and vegetables? They're like, yeah, we got it. It's like, put them in a dish, please. No sandwich, no bread. Just give me some of them vegetables. So when you're traveling, it's a wonderful, wonderful alternative to resolve the difficulty of healthy habits. Go to fieldofgreens.com. It takes you to Brickhouse Nutrition. 15% off your first order, and I'm fairly certain free rush shipping, but double check that. And that's it. Now, before we get going, I see Barnes is in the backdrop. UG Quadix is the car you record in an Audi, black leather and red stitching. I'm almost ashamed to say we retired the 4-door. We retired the 4-seater 2-door Jeep Wrangler and upgraded to a Ford Bronco. Made in America, baby. Made in what was it, Dearborn, Michigan? It's the coolest car on the face of the planet. I don't like cars, and I don't like having nice things that you have to worry about getting dirty and scratched. But we needed a 5-seater. The 4-seater 2-door Jeep was magnificent. Hit 58,000 miles, started having some problems, and we bit the bullet and upgraded. Viva, glad you got the logo. It was a unique project. Right there behind me. This one, it's right here. For everyone involved, also, the plexiglass was an afterthought. Don't feel obligated to display it that way. Oh, well, I'm going to hang it up on the wall one of these days, but it's right there. That beautiful piece of metal right where my finger is. Okay, now we got here. Thank you very much. Ian, hey, Viva, did you see the new study showing the jab causes... I'm not, no medical advice, no election fortification advice. If it happens with this one, what about the others? Zero Hedge. Oh, that's not a study. Go submit that. That's not a study. Show me your source data, because you can trust the source data, right? Like the Pfizer trial source data, where they just conveniently expel the Maddie DeGarys of the trials? Oh, these mother MFers. That was from Ian. Thank you very much. Why has former President Trump announced he will not pursue retribution on charges against the deep state? Was this his plan all along, not a band account? We're going to get into it. Exactly. Speak your mind. Free speech. And then we got about high rates towards vaccine injury. 1 in 10,000. Is that not double the chance of injury when compared to being hospitalized due to the coof? Dude, for that demographic, exponentially disproportionate to the risks of that against which you're allegedly protecting. All right, Viva, I'm glad I didn't have to endure that insane spitter twace, but I'm now sure you should have. I'm not sure you should have either. They were seditiously not listening. I don't care, dude. I don't care that they weren't listening to me. You know who was listening to me? The 1,200 retweets of that segment on my Twitter feed. Okay, Barnes is in the backdrop, everybody. We're talking good stuff tonight. I'm gonna I'll leave the. No, I have to take that out of the backdrop. Robert, sir, I'm bringing you in. I'm gonna ask locals to tell me if the audio is adjusted so that people don't complain. But let me just bring him in. Robert, how goes the battle?
Good.
Okay, so hold on. You tell us what book you have behind you and what cigar you might have in your hands, and I'm going to go to locals and see what they say about the audio levels.
All right. That's by David Moranis. A great biography as we enter NFL playoff season when pride still mattered of the great Vince Lombardi as the Green Bay Packers put the smackdown on the Dallas Cowboys and end the coaching career of Mike McCarthy. My prediction is that will lead to an upgrade for the Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys will probably, if they're smart, will probably hire Bill Belichick, who recently resigned from the New England Patriots, and he will get another Super Bowl with another franchise at the Dallas Cowboys. That will be my prediction and forecast for the NFL weekend. And this cigar is titled Hiram and Solomon. It's known as the Master Mason cigar. Might be some ancestral tradition I'm recognizing in that cigar.
That's a big cigar with dark-looking tobacco and a beautiful label on it. The audio apparently is good, Robert. And we're up to almost 10,000 already on Rumble. And the link to go over to Rumble is in the pinned comment. For those of you who don't know, we start on YouTube, Rumble, and our community, vivabarneslaw.locals.com. And on YouTube, go over exclusively to Rumble. And then we have an after-party, after-show on Locals, so you can come there afterwards. Robert, what do we have on the menu for the evening?
We have the top topic chosen by the board was all of the above. They loved them all good. The Trump immunity. That was debated before the D.C. circuit with some disingenuous questioning and media coverage from the court. A big vaccine win in the Freedom of Information Act context. I posted it as part of the Barnes Law School series at vivabarneslaw.locals.com. I'll debrief the Fifth Circuit oral argument had in New Orleans this past week on behalf of Children's Health Defense suing FDA over that same COVID-19 vaccine. We got 3 big cases up before the Supreme Court. One they heard oral argument on last week, or 2 of them, and one they're about to hear this week on Wednesday. The future of the administrative state is before the Supreme Court on the Chevron doctrine. Takings clause and the due process clause, does it matter anymore? Will it be enforced once again against local and state governments trying to control through permitting process what you can do with your own property? The confrontation clause, the right to cross-examine before the Supreme Court of the United States, particularly in the context of forensic science. Boeing, we got a Boeing class action over their little airline, Alaska Airlines.
That minor little, piece of the plane getting sucked off in real time.
You're sitting in the exit row, you're thinking, hey, this is great, to get a little extra leg room, and then boom, there goes the door. The Harvard sued over anti-Semitism allegations. Mm-hmm. The sad, tragic, and horrifying death of Gonzalo Lira in Ukrainian prison. We'll have an update on Amos Miller. COVID insurance coverage, what's happening with that in the courts. A couple of bonus cases. We got Fani Willis up to some no good. Preaching from the pulpit today, trying to explain that black women should have an exception, apparently, to the rules of ethics that govern the rest of us. The rights of the homeless before the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. Big Second Amendment win against the Biden administration about your right to carry weapons on federal property, including the post office. Winner website's property, according to the Ninth Circuit. And the top question on the board to today's topic list, what about the WHO treaty and its application in the United States without congressional approval? So we'll get to most of those live, and we'll get to the rest on Locals at vivabarneslaw.locals.com. For those asking about the Iowa caucus, I got betting predictions and recommendations up at sportspicks.locals.com, where we just won a big 5% play on the College Football National Championship, won another big 5% play on the NFL wild card just yesterday. So if you want that inside information about where you can make a little money on political betting and predictions, you can go to Sports Picks. But we can have some broader discussion of the Vivek aspect and the rest as we start off here on YouTube before we proceed to Rumble.
Well, let's start with the drama of the day because it's going to lead into the other. We're going to do the Vivek, Donald Trump. What's the word? Not scandal. It's not a scandal. It's not a fight. It's politics. It's dirty. It's disgusting. Yesterday, Donald Trump on Truth Social puts out a truth post saying Vivek is, what did he say? Call him deceitful, sly. Don't vote for him because, he started off as a good campaign and now he's just sneakily trying to get votes from Trump. I didn't understand or didn't think it was necessarily the most appropriate criticism attack because all I had known at the time was the picture that, he took a picture with a bunch of people that said, save Trump, vote Vivek. Okay, I can understand it. I still think it shouldn't have been done. There's not allegedly, I mean, we've seen the video. I don't know who caught the video. I don't think Vivek is saying anything on his campaign that he doesn't expect to make it to social media. Like he's not whispering sweet nothings to one individual. I think Vivek might have just not explained himself properly or gotten a little carried away in the moment. There's a video of him saying, if you vote for Trump, you're basically voting for his demise. I want to save Trump, vote for me, because if you vote for him, you're actually going to hurt him. I need your support in Iowa. Go do it. Okay. Everybody knows that Vivek is running. He says he's running for president. And so it would be absolutely idiotic for him to say, don't vote for me. I don't want your support in Iowa. The question is whether or not it crosses an ethical loyalty line by saying, if you vote for him, you're actually voting for his own demise. Bring it over to my side. I can understand that argument. I still like Vivek, and I think he might even acknowledge his own mistake. Trump comes out with the attack. Vivek responds respectfully and almost subserviently, in my view, which leads to my bet. He's going to be the VP pick. I don't know what the odds are on that. And that's the drama. Tomorrow is the caucus in Iowa. Robert, before I get your take on it, I've never seen a caucus. What happens at these caucuses? Like, how does it work to get the votes? What does it physically look like? How long does it take? When are we going to know the results? What happens at a caucus in Iowa?
It depends on the rules. So different years, they've had different rules about the caucusing process. Some years you've had to wait for a period of time before you could cast your vote, but whether everybody gets to make a presentation in favor of their candidate. There was vote swapping you could do in the past. There were thresholds you had to reach, and if you didn't reach those thresholds, then there would be another round of voting. My understanding is this year they've preserved that you go in and you don't just cast a ballot. There are some caucuses that are indistinguishable now from a primary, that they're just done to be outside of the control of the state process. I mean, one distinct thing with caucuses universally is they're not controlled by the state government at all. In other words, you go to a primary, it's the local government that is controlling the ballot process, the ballot counting process, everything about it, making sure you're registered to vote and so on and so forth. Depending on which jurisdiction you're in. If you're in Taiwan, you do paper ballots. No mail-in ballots. You vote in person. You prove your identity. And then they count them in public and show the ballots to everybody, and they get it done within hours. Taiwan went with the anti-China candidate by a thin margin in a widely watched election. Weird how that's held up as a beacon of democracy, and yet somehow that would be totally anathema to democracy, according to Democrats here in America. But in the caucus process, your vote's usually public. It's not private and anonymous. Now, again, some caucuses are indistinguishable from primaries and don't go that process. But in Iowa, typically that you have to publicize your vote. That you go in, people organize, they get together, people make pitches for their individual candidates. Then they do the first round of voting. You're publicly voting. My understanding is that in this Iowa caucus, this cycle, there's no minimum threshold to have to reach to meet and that there won't be a second or third or fourth round of voting. That'll just be one round of voting. Now, I don't think they'll have Pete Booty Booty Gay Gay's special electronic system that managed to muck up Bernie Sanders' chance to win Iowa in 2020, or Hillary Clinton's magical coin flipping, where there were ties in caucuses, and so she would win in any precinct where the coin flip was in her direction. And apparently people really had a strong sense of preservation of life, and she managed to win 6 for 6 and go perfect in a coin flip opportunity that the odds would say are something like 10,000 to 1 against that occurring normally. So so that's how the process works. Now, it's supposed to be bad weather in Iowa. We're facing, there was supposed to be an NFL game today in Buffalo, and they moved it probably to the benefit of my profitable bets, but not to everybody. A lot of people were whining about it who'd already placed bets on certain things happening because it was such a snowstorm there in Buffalo. So if that continues, turnout will be a major factor. Now, I don't know. My understanding is I don't think you have to have registered as a Republican to get there until you show up at the caucus. Traditionally, you don't. I don't know if they've changed that rule or not. And that's what Nikki Haley is depending on. She's depending on Democrats. The Democrats don't have any meaningful competition, and Biden has suppressed all efforts to meaningfully compete with him. So you have no real Iowa Democratic caucuses, which means you could have Democratic-leaning voters vote in the Republican caucuses. And it looks like up to a third of the total people attending the caucuses are not Republicans. So some are independents, but a good number are Democrats, outright Democrats. So, there's all kinds of shenanigans going on at the end.
Yeah, hold on. You got to explain that. Do they not have to be registered Republicans to vote in the caucus?
I don't think so. Typically, no. Historically, no. I've attended Nevada caucuses on the Democratic side, and you only registered when you showed up, whether you wanted to self-declare. So traditionally, I don't know if, I know in New Hampshire, I think they changed, New Hampshire used to be totally open, but I think they changed the rules so you have to have registered a little bit earlier than normal, because that's the same strategy of Nikki Haley in New Hampshire, is that because there's no competitive Democratic primary, Biden's not even on the ballot on the Democratic side in New Hampshire because he rejected it because the Democrats didn't want Bobby Kennedy to win there. So that's why Bobby Kennedy ended up running as an independent instead. It was clear the rules were rigged on the Democratic side. The whole goal for Nikki Haley to do well is to get a bunch of people who are Democrats to show up at these caucuses. So that may happen. The other place where you get a lot of shenanigans, some of the shenanigans happen the weekend before. Some happened the night of. I mean, Ted Cruz did some shenanigans to steal some votes from Ben Carson in 2016. They accidentally misreported the results in 2012 that suggested Romney won when actually he lost to Santorum. So there's a history of this, of interesting things happening once the caucuses commence. And then, of course, we've already heard stories that people associated with various campaigns have been calling up and saying, or who do you back? And the person will say Trump. And they'll say, oh, do you know, by the way, that the weather's really bad? You should probably stay home. That routine. There's going to be a lot of that going on. So there's some in the DeSantis camp that truly think he's going to actually win tomorrow night. I publicly put out on Twitter, if you're that dumb, you need to be separated from your money, just as a matter of moral principle.
Well, it might happen if they're betting on it anyhow. But what it's obviously Trump, Haley, DeSantis, Vivek in that order.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's one minor candidate left that's on the ballot. The Christie has dropped out now, of course. Mike Pence has dropped out. Tim Scott dropped out. I mean, pretty much all those people have that were hangers on in the debates that we saw in California earlier in the year are gone. Rubio endorsed Trump today. The other people have been coming out and endorsing Trump over the last weekend or so. So it's a kind of a last stand for DeSantis. Needs to be competitive, needs to keep the margin between he and Trump down, and needs to get a very solid second place. He has, according to people on the ground there, the best political organization. And again, historically, political organization has mattered. The polling has often been wrong in the Republican caucuses in Iowa because it underestimates the performance and participation of evangelicals, particularly church-going evangelicals. Trump notoriously, had a lead and then lost in 2016, the Iowa caucuses. So the Nikki Haley, there's been a lot of money spent attacking Nikki Haley after she surged. I mean, her whole campaign was based on New Hampshire and South Carolina. Late surge in Iowa, so she started to compete aggressively there. DeSantis, and then Vivek was surging in some public opinion polling. Richard Barris, People's Pundit Daily, showed him surging last week. Patrick Basham, the UK Daily Express, also has Vivek surging. And I think that's what precipitated. It was a simple political move on Trump and Vivek's part. Vivek saw he had a chance to finish, anywhere in the second or third or close fourth, so that the second would be kind of mucked up. You have a bunch of people in the low teens, mid-teens, and that would be good for Vivek. And I think he saw the opportunity. So this whole mantra, his whole raison d'etre of his campaign is they're going to take Trump out, so put me in instead. And so he just verbalized that more dramatically. Trump looked, and the question for Vivek's people was, does Trump care more about a big win, or does he care more about mucking up DeSantis and Haley in Iowa by letting Vivek eat into their votes? Well, that question got answered. Trump wants the big win. So that's why he came out and criticized Vivek. He was like, yeah, nice try, pal, but I want all the votes. All got to come to Papa Trump. I want 50%. I want 55%. I'd love 60%.
What I love is still in politics is dirty, but people should not say things that cannot be unsaid when this is all over. Trump's attack was very, very mild, deceitful. I think so, I think Vivek might say, yeah, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said it the way I said it.
Well, I think it was a smart gamble on his part. In other words, you're looking at it, maybe Trump won't mind because maybe he cares more about mucking up second place. What you have is you have 3 voting constituencies in Iowa. You have the Trump voters. You have what I call the non-Trump voters. These are people who have a favorable opinion of Trump, but are willing to consider someone other than Trump for a wide range of reasons. And then you have the anti-Trump voter group, that third group, many of whom are Democrats and independents who lean Democrat. The Nikki Haley has, Chris Christie campaigned toward this group. DeSantis was trying to benefit from them without being critical of Trump. He wasn't able to manage that well. And so Nikki Haley surged amongst that group. She became the favorite of Rupert Murdoch and his crowd at Fox News and the Murdoch media empire. Big media people behind her, big Democrats behind her, the LinkedIn guys, other people like that helping to fund her campaign along with the Koch brothers. And so once the anti-Trump vote consolidated behind Nikki Haley to such a degree that Rand Paul came out this past week and said there's one person he'll never endorse for president, and that's Nikki Haley. Because of that rise, that put DeSantis in a difficult. So what you have left is the non-Trump vote. And the never Trump, anti-Trump, about a quarter of the possible electorate in Iowa, maybe more, depending on what happens with turnout. Because they're overwhelmingly upscale voters, they tend to turn out more no matter what. So even though they're low propensity voters within a caucus process overall, they're high propensity in a low turnout environment because of their socioeconomic background. Then you have the non-Trump vote, more middle-class folks, your Steve Deaces of the world, which are a mix of people that used to be never Trump, then came on Trump, and now just don't think Trump can win. Your Will Chamberlain types are in this category of people that have favorable opinions of Trump, but don't think Trump is the right candidate.
Did you catch any of the interview with him on Friday?
Yes. Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
I've known Will. I met Will early in 2017, I believe, at a Mike Cernovich event up in New York. So the debated Chamberlain on the pandemic. He liked the Jacobson decision. That was a sign that some of his decision making is not the best.
Well, he's very eloquent. He's very intelligent, and he presents the arguments very well. And I think he's sincere.
He's all those things. I've never doubted his good faith. I've doubted his judgment upon occasion. But when he says he was a Trump supporter, he actually was. He was a true Trump supporter in 2016. And on the anti-war side of the equation. He worked for a period of time for DeSantis, and then the campaign kind of ran out of money on that side of the aisle. But comes from inherited money. Was editor of Human Events for a little while. But yeah, very smart guy, very sharp guy. Just judgment not always ideal. Well, a little bit too much of that. What do they call it? Proper breeding. a little too much of that, I think. In the
At the
background.
very least, he was honest enough to say that he would, if it's Trump, he'll vote Trump. Unlike many others on the team or the DeSantis camp.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I don't know what the purpose of saying it is. If it's not Trump, I'm not going to vote for Republican.
Well, it's DeSantis kind of ran into trouble because and that's who Vivek is competing for. Vivek and DeSantis are competing for the non-Trump vote, and Vivek would like to get a few extra Trump voters. And Trump knows this, and Trump doesn't care about Vivek mucking up DeSantis and Haley. He cares about maximizing his margin. And so Vivek took a calculated gamble. It was probably worth it because it was the only way he was going to break into the mid-teens. And it didn't work. But, that's the nature of calculated gamble. Probability is not certainty. I think he does it all. If he had to do it all over again, he would do it all over again because it's the only way he was going to get into that possible second-place finish. And there was reason to believe that Trump might not care because to date he hadn't cared. He only said nice things about Vivek. But now that it's ballot counting time, Trump wants all the votes to come.
My theory also, it's a little bit of big dog showing the little dog who's in charge and look at be subservient and not in a demeaning way. It's just like, look, I've been through the ringer. We can do this. I really think they're going to pick. They're going to go VP with Vivek. But I think it's he's like.
I don't think he. I do have a bet out there and pick out there as to who he's going to pick. It won't be any of the candidates. It won't be anybody who ran against him. This time around.
The question I was going to ask you though, is it going to be someone in politics or someone outside of politics?
Someone kind of both. That has been quietly, really storming Iowa on his behalf in other places, and he checks off a bunch of lists. I think the decision's already been made. Just my read on the situation. But you can get this person as 10-1 odds, 20-1 odds, 50-1 odds. I mean, really, people just aren't paying attention because he doesn't operate in the same place as the mainstream establishment said.
Kyle Rittenhouse. I was going to make a joke. He's going to pick Laura Loomer. That's not.
No, I don't think.
Is it Ben Carson, Robert?
Yeah, Ben Carson. That's my pick.
Okay.
At this point, it would have been DeSantis had he not been insane. And gone on this kamikaze campaign. I think everything predicted about that has come absolutely true. And I think I put out the forecast on X. I don't want to, dead name Twitter. I hear that's politically incorrect.
I'm dead naming it until the cows come home. I do not like the word X for Twitter. I don't like it.
Yeah, I understand. That's an old favorite of Elon's, dating back to his banking app ideas before he was at Tesla. I think even before he was at PayPal, actually. DeSantis may drop out before New Hampshire. That if he does not finish a strong second tomorrow night in Iowa, DeSantis will drop out. He's not going to experience humiliating defeats in Florida, in his own home state. He's not going to just sit around to get third and fourth and be beat up in New Hampshire and South Carolina and Nevada. It's not going to happen. He put everything in Iowa. If it's a real low turnout, and the Democratic-oriented voters don't turn out, DeSantis can get a good, strong second. But if that doesn't happen, he's in real trouble. I put out certain bets, recommendations at Sports Picks as to how you can cash in on Iowa, and we'll see how it progresses. But I think that I think Nikki Haley will be around probably for a good while. But she's not ever going to be the nominee, president or vice president. And Trump was, calling her a globalist and things like that this past weekend in Iowa. He's buying pizzas for firemen in Iowa. He still has the best marketing instinct. I think Vivek has a future on the national stage, no matter what. He's established that and achieved that by his campaign.
People are saying that Trump already said he wouldn't pick anyone that ran in this primary. That was then, and things changed. And I think, look, a lot of people have been warming up to Vivek recently. He's been the most audacious, the most, I think, having the most integrity of the other candidates in terms of, unabashed condemnation of the persecutions, January 6th, the indictments. Whereas I think, I would have expected.
But if you're Vivek, you may not want to be vice presidential nominee. That you might want a different cabinet position with more authority, responsibility. If you look at how Trump wanted Pence to be, he wanted him to be non-existent outside of limited circumstances and then be very loyal. And it may benefit Vivek more in a different position if I was on his team. The one guy who has utterly killed his political future is DeSantis. If he doesn't finish a very strong second tomorrow night, and I mean, 30%, 25 to 30%, within 20 of Trump, he committed kamikaze, or what do they call it? It's not a
Harry Carey.
Yeah, he committed Harry Carey. I mean, just I hope the Murdoch money was worth it, Ron.
All right, and I had one last question before we head over to Rumble. Was Vivek's the video caught on camera? Was that an egregious transgression for you?
No, not really, because that's been the whole mantra of his campaign. I mean, his campaign has been to appeal to the non-Trump voter and a few Trump voters as vote for me because they're going to take Trump out anyway. That's his reason for running. Well, I think his main reason is to boost his profile, and I think he's achieved that in spades.
Yeah.
So I think the main goal he's achieved. The secondary goal he was never going to get. That just wasn't going to happen. Maybe convinced himself at different times that maybe and this kind of chance and that kind of that was very unrealistic. Trump voters were going to rally to Trump under these circumstances.
All right. Before we head on over to Rumble, people, excuse me, one last
seppuku. Maybe that's what it's also called.
Seppuku is also that, but I think Harry Carey, excuse me, is the same thing as seppuku. I'll have to Google that.
Yeah.
Field of Greens, one last one. I just got a DM on another platform that says, Viva, you're very skeptical of what the scientists say about the jab, but not so much about what they say about Field of Greens.
I'm not skeptical about the science. We'll be talking about what the science really says. They've been hiding.
We're gonna get there. All that to say is, fruits and vegetables have been around for a lot longer than the jab, people, and we've seen the results in real time. Field of Greens, promo code Viva.
Well,
15%
you know how you know
off.
Field of Greens is safe? The FDA doesn't promote it.
Well, it is USDA approved, organic. Okay, fieldofgreens.com, promo code Viva. Thank you very much to our sponsor of the evening. All right, we are now ending on YouTube. Wait, no, before I do that, hold on 1 second. Shame on me for not doing this. Link to locals, and before I put my own poison in something, hold on. See, I'm going to fill this little Wanted for President up with a little bit of Uncle Val's wonderful gin. You can go to Viva Fry if you want to get some merch. This is obviously the coolest we've ever had. So go to vivafry.com if you want some merch, vivabarneslaw.locals.com, or Viva Fry on Rumble right now because we are ending on CommyTube. I mean YouTube. Ending in 3,